I hope you now can see my screen.
That's fine. It's there.
I hope they show me when someone tries to come in. If not, we have a problem. Here. So, hello, Agnieszka.
Hello, everyone.
So, okay, then I will start. You still see my screen, hopefully, yeah? Okay.
It's still there, yeah.
So, welcome to our little HTML and CSS introduction for our ngGirls workshop on Friday. So we often do this for those who are not so familiar or want to get more familiar with, that they have a sneak preview to what HTML and CSS is. My name is Robert. I'm one of the co-organizers of ngGirls. So I'm the only male co-organizer in the group. So we are 5 more female organizer. And for Friday, we have also Dominika. Maybe she joins us later because she currently has a work meeting. So that's why I will do now the intro. Yes, if you have questions, just feel free to talk. We don't have a chat here, sadly. So, or as I heard, we don't have so much chat, depending on how you register. So feel also free to just ask. I assume that it will take around 60 to 90 minutes. Yeah. And if you don't understand me or also if my mic is not working or if I'm unclear, please also say it to me. It was a long day, so maybe sometimes I could be a little bit not the most vital person today, but I try my best. So welcome to HTML and CSS. So as I said, my name is Robert. I'm from Berlin, by the way. So, and I'm also co-organizer since 2017, so it's already 4 years, and I love to go to conferences, so I'm really, really happy on Friday, at least to be a little bit around the conference after nearly 2 years of Corona and 2 years of online workshops and stuff like that. Yeah, what is HTML? HTML is the structure of the web. It's called hypertext markup language, and it looks a little bit like this, basically. So for what you're using HTML you use to build websites. For example, like our ngGirls page you already saw, I'm pretty sure. And if you go on a website, for example, our ngGirls page, it's still our old one, so it's a little bit slower. And you do a right click for, I'm in Chrome. If you do a right click and you have an inspect there, then wait, you get such dev tools, they are called. These will also for Friday quite useful, that you can inspect what's going on inside your web application or inside your website. This is one of the views. There's also a second view. This is the rendered view. Rendered means that it's everything calculated. There's also a non-rendered view, which is just the source code you find when you click Control U. It looks like this. Or actually, it looks like on one a little bit more structured, but here it's not. Wait, let's see. No. Okay. Maybe I'll find another. Okay, now we have a little bit problem because of when we do a video meeting, then things getting slow. Anyway, so when you do right click and inspect, there are the dev tools which will help you a lot during development. That's one thing before an important thing. And when you do a right click, you see a structure like this. So this is very, 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 very short. Usually the HTML code is way, way more bigger. But these are the basis of HTML. We'll go later to all these parts of HTML. Yeah, but first let's go to a brief history. So, the history, or someone no, the history of HTML or the web started in 1989, or the web as we know now, which was a project at CERN. Where this guy, Tim Berners-Lee, tried to find a system to share documents through the whole CERN institution. So he invented a hypertext system, which is the first point of the modern internet. Actually, the internet was also before already existed in a way like called ARPANET. ARPANET was a military thing, which were just connect different computers together to have a network and sending emails, for example. But with the websites like we know now, this was started in the late 80s, and then at the beginning of the 90s, the first web pages occurred and were standardized later by the W3C. It's a big organization which is caring about what are the web standards of HTML, of CSS, of JavaScript, and whatever is also in the web ecosystem. There's also another organization called WATWG, but you don't have to as much remember. The W3C is the slower one of both in standardizing. Yeah, but actually, even if Sir Tim Berners-Lee, actually he's a sir, or he became a sir because of his invention. He's famous for inventing the internet. But actually, if you read books like that from Claire L. Evans, you will also find out there's also a woman who actually found a similar system of hypermedia, but she's never really became popular. So women have really big, actually really big part of inventing all the technical system we know now. But they don't get, sadly, don't get the credit as this one guy. Big problem. Yeah, what means HTML? Hypertext markup language. So it was the language itself was created in 1992, and then depending on years, there were different versions of HTML. So in 1997, HTML4, then became XHTML, and later HTML5 in 2014, which is the now modern standard of HTML. You see there are really big year gaps between. Sometimes it was developed faster, and here you see 14 years between those. So sometimes also the speed is not the fastest, but because you have to standardize, you have or the browsers have to implement these standards that you can use them later. So how is the internet working? Actually quite simple. We have this cloud showing an internet, which is connecting a different server to multiple clients. A client is a user who's just getting a website. And the server is in a data center, which are serving the website or hosting the website. And if one user just asking for a website, the server who is have the right domain or the right IP. Hello, Yosra. So we already started, so feel free to just follow. I hope you can hear us.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I hear you. Thank you.
So when a client just type in the browser, for example, ngGirls.org, ng-girls.org, there goes a request to this internet, so this bubble to a server, which is related to the domain. So actually an IP behind an IP address. And then the server gives a feedback and sends the documents, which are consisting like the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and images, sending back to the client. And what? Sorry. And then when the client gets all these documents back, then it can render, so it can like calculating what it's got, and then it can show us the result, which is the website as we know. That is the really basic process. So just requesting, getting some documents, and then just rendering them. So simple HTML looks like this. Here, for example, we have a button. It consists of an opening and a closing tag. Don't ask me why it's called tag. For me as a German, it's always a problem because tag means something like day in our language. For some reason, they named it tag in English. But it's what you see with these, how are these brackets called? These greater one, smaller one. So when you see something like with a smaller one, then the name and greater one, this is usually a tag. And a closing tag is similar, but it has a slash in between. So these are the basic structure of an, you see the basic structure of an HTML tag. And in between, you have some kind of content. For here for example, click me text. So, but there are also other HTML tags. So, for example, we have here. Do you see my mouse, or can you see my mouse, or? So here, for example, you have an H1. H1 is a headline, or you have a paragraph, or you have an image, which is called img tag. Here it is quite special. Well, it's quite special. It's quite special because image tags don't have a closing tag. One of the few tags who don't have a closing tag. And way more. For example, here you have also a link tag with a called anchor. So, and what you also can do with a tag, you can put some attributes, which are here like class. And these attributes are there for different purposes. For example, for styling, for putting some functionality, for putting information about accessibility also, which is nowadays more and more important. Defining a reference to an image also. And such an attribute consists of a key and a value. Usually. So there are also sometimes where you have attribute just with a key, but usually it's a key value combination. Oh, for development, you need, or I already showed you these dev tools, and you also need different browsers to display a website or what you created. A website or web application. We do on Friday, we do a web application, but actually website is also some kind of web application. So some kind of web software. If you don't familiar with application, the name application is like software. And there are a lot of different browsers you can use, and that's nowadays a huge problem to always adapt a website that it looks like in every browser similar. Yeah, anyone knows, anyone can say the different browser names, or at least can try to. So, like the first one is easy.
The first one is Google Chrome.
Yeah. Second one.
then the second one, Internet Explorer.
Yeah, or what is now?
Now it's Edge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. They killed the Internet Explorer, sadly. I loved them. Don't say it too loud. So third one?
Firefox.
Firefox.
Yeah. Fourth?
Opera.
Opera,
Yes, right.
Safari.
Safari,
Yeah.
Yahoo,
No. That's a little bit harder. Anyone knows?
No.
This is Yandex. Yandex is a Russian Dutch company, and Yandex is quite famous in Russia, also for maps, but they're also a browser. The seventh one is also, what is this?
Looks also like Opera.
that's Opera Mini.
Yeah. And what do you think what mini means?
No,
Is it like maybe for mobile devices or something?
Yes, exactly. So
Mobile?
it's dedicated for mobile devices. So same with this one here, which also looks like this, but it's the Safari for mobile. Have you seen this browser?
No.
no.
So then you all don't have, like me, a Samsung device, because on Samsung devices you would have this browser. This is a Samsung browser. And the last one, you probably,
That's
knows?
UC browser.
Yes. Wow, the first time someone knows this, because it's not common in Europe. For those who don't know it, it's very common in the Asia area. Actually, it's they have the same huge range as a Chrome or Firefox here. So what I want to say with that is that even if you here develop stuff in Chrome or Firefox or Edge, which is quite cool, you always have to check out where are your customers. So if your customers are in this area, maybe it's totally okay when you use these browsers to develop. But if your customers in a total different continent, then check out which browsers they're using and try to check if your website is there still working. And if all the web standards you're using are also implemented there, because not every web standard is implemented in every browser. That's the biggest problem of development. Yeah, and there are much more browsers. There's just a few. Nowadays, nearly 10 browsers a year or whatever come out, but none of them became too much popular. So what you also need for development is an editor. So like, for example, Visual Studio Code, which is from Microsoft thing, or Atom, or Notepad++. I think everybody's using a Windows platform, have it. Sublime is also free for private purpose, a free editor. You can use a lot of editors, but please, please, please don't use Microsoft Word. In case you ever thought about it. Honestly, when I started with web development, I used it, but the website became like 1 MB or so. It's not really. If you want to annoy developers, then try to use Microsoft Word, but better don't do it. For typical website, a folder structure of a classical website, a folder structure looks like this. So you have folders, you have your HTML file, like here. You have all your JavaScript files in the JS folder, all your images in the image folder, like GIFs or JPEGs or PNGs that are different image formats. GIF is, I think everybody knows what a GIF is because they always have these nice moving things. PNG or JPEG, I think mostly also know. There are also modern standards like WebP or so. These are maybe not so familiar for you. And you have the CSS, the styling of the internet, also in a folder. This is the classical way, like we created websites 10 years ago. Nowadays, we will also learn on Friday, you have the component architecture, which will not sort everything in one folder. They will more sort everything which belongs logical together. For example, if you have a button, then you put into a button folder an containing HTML file, the containing CSS, and the containing JavaScript, and maybe also the not containing connected the which belongs to that component. So you more thinking like components and like pieces and not in what type of my file is. So then it's a little bit easier to find where's all the functionality, because with that structure, for sure you can use this, but the problem is then sometimes when you are looking, okay, I have this little animation on my button, and where do I find this animation? So you have to watch 10, 20 JavaScript files and don't know where is this functionality. So that's why they go nowadays more with component structure. But to show you some classic standard stuff for now, I show you this. So what a website consists of, it consists of your content, plus HTML as a structure. You can imagine a little bit like a house. You have a house like the structure, which is like what a house consists of. Structure, right? Or house these the skeleton of a house. You can imagine HTML as a skeleton of a house. CSS is like when you colorize it with red, blue, and whatever, and when you make a shape or whatever, when you want to make your house beautiful, then you use CSS, cascading style sheets. And this is the minimal setup you need for a website. For sure, if you have a house and you have a door, you also want to open the door, so you need some kind of functionality. In this case, you have JavaScript. Yeah, so until here, everything is understandable? Or any question? Okay. So let's go to more and more examples. So let's starting with a paragraph, like the P tag, and you can do different things with it, and also to describe a little bit more HTML and CSS. To show you some samples, I try to use some live demo thing with StackBlitz. StackBlitz is like Visual Studio Code, but online. If you go to stackblitz.com, you can also type in yourself if you like. Feel free to do it. So when I have here an HTML, like here this TypeScript starter, let's do a paragraph. Hey, I don't want to sign in, sorry. And do hello content. And have a closing tag. Here you see also in modern editors, when you forgot something, it will show, it will red highlight you something. So if you see that, there's probably somewhere a mistake. So, and if I do a thing right, wait, well, oh yeah, that's the problem of samples. Don't use, yeah, because there was some JavaScript connected to the HTML, so it wasn't working. I will make it a little bit bigger. So here you see the paragraph with the content. So for example, you want to make the paragraph more beautiful, you use CSS. So here, for example, I have a CSS file, and we'll come later dedicated to that, but shortly to show you what you can do. You can, for example, style every paragraph tag with the color green, which looks like this. Just name it as P, and then here's green. If you can't see it, I can make it font weight bold. I can make it bold. So, and maybe for those who still can't see it, I can also change the font size with that. Boom. So you have it quite big. You can also make it small, then you can't see anything, but let's keep it big. So as I said, we will come later to what all these kind of definitions are. Don't worry, I also don't know every definition. There are some standard definitions I know, I often use that word, but a lot of I don't know, I also have to search. That's also an important tool, also for Friday. Not everybody knows everything, so Googling and asking and all these things are very important tools of a developer. So, but this was just shortly to show you how HTML and CSS work together. So, and again, if I make a mistake, here in this case, luckily Stacklet says me I have an unclosed block, so I have to just fix it and then it's going again. In normal editors, usually when you do a CSS mistake, by the way, or not every editor says you something, and then CSS is always also not throwing errors usually. So if you make a mistake in CSS, a typo, then sometimes it can take hours to find the mistake. In worst cases. So what I showed you was a paragraph, and I put some content in the paragraph and make some styling, like the font size and the color. Really, really basic. So shortly also about the naming. An element is the whole thing of a component with containing of an opening, closing tag, and the content. This is called element. And the tag is oh wait. It's right. Yeah, and tag is more specified what it's doing. So there could be also different tags which have the same element functionality. And the tag is always have an opening closing thing and things like we already talked about. But also modern thing, you also can create your own tags. So you can, to make it easier, not to have a big structure of code to, for example, define what you can do like a price box or so. You don't have to write a lot of code. You can define your own HTML tag, and then you just easy can create new price boxes with your own HTML tag. This is nowadays with HTML5 also possible. And then we have divide. Oh, but my English. Sorry, my English is. We differ. What is the when I have two different things? What is the English word? I make a decision. What is called? Naming memories. Wait.
You decide.
You decide, yeah, or you decide, or you have two different ways what you can have. You can have a container element and you can have a standalone element. A container element is like our paragraph, which contains something, and a standalone element it's the opposite, which has it's not containing within something. And it also has the difference that it don't has an opening and closing tag. It just has one tag. Some standalone elements you can also put the slash at the end, but you don't have to. So like the image tag, the break, which is making a break inside your content, They are quite famous standalone tags. But mostly, most of the tags are container elements. So they have opening and closing. So this is just really an exception for a few elements. As already told, you have attributes which provide additional information about the HTML element. You can have a class, an ID, which is quite common to use. You have style. You have also different attributes to define what is the element. Here, for example, you have an input. Input is like when you have a form, you type in some input box, something, and there you, for example, have a type with password, which makes a password input field. Where's my stack blitz? My stack blitz is here. Like, let's do it in the real thing. So here you see a little input box where I can type something. And the standard type of this input box is text. Oh. And you can put just a text. If you have what we've seen in the slides, you have password. Then it changes behavior. Hello. It changes the behavior. So you don't see anything. You see, I just changed the type and now I have this password functionality. By the way, if you know DevTools and know this thing, it's a very good hack if you have a password manager, because then you can go with the DevTools to your code. You see this input tag, and we really can do it, for example, when you have a registration form or something like that, you can go to your code and just change the text, and then you know what somebody's was the secret. So be careful about such stuff. It's in this case, are you already a little hacker? So just knowing DevTools and some HTML markup. If you just change here the type, you can really do it on live sites. So yeah, if we would have some registration form, we can do this there. And you can also have other types, like, for example, you want to input a color. No. So you just change the type color, and then you have a basic color selection. Or you have like, I think it was email. Why is my happened? Interesting. It wasn't working. Okay, email doesn't show anything. Or you have, yeah, now when you're thinking about, okay, what other types you want to have, as I also don't know everything or can't remember everything, I just use Google. So what you will do in this case, you know, okay, you have an input field and just type in, for example, input and HTML in Google. Or you can use the browser location bar. For those who don't know, if you want to use Google or your favorite search engine, you can also do it in the location bar, but you can also do it here. And then I type in input and HTML. And then you get links like here, like W3 Schools, for example, is a quite famous one. It's a reference where you get some more information about. So here you have the different types which are existing. You see there are a lot of types. So for example, date is a quite famous one. So if we put in date, you have a really basic selection of a date. So actually quite cool. So, and yeah, so for every tag you see here on the left, for every tag you find those kind of definitions. You find what is, you see what is the browser support of this tag. Where's my mouse? You see the browser support of this tag from the famous browsers. You also see what kind of attributes you can put to this tag. So we saw this type attribute, which is here, but you have way more attributes. Like for example, to do a placeholder or to do define how minimum or maximum characters you can put in. So placeholder is also quite easy thing. Everybody, I think, have seen this. You have type text and then you have placeholder and say please type and so on, and then you have a placeholder text here. Quite easy. So it's not very, much magic, just knowing the right attribute and just googling a little bit, and yeah. So this you can really do for every HTML tag, and you can see what it can do or not can do. So as I said, just type in what you want to have and type in HTML and you will find such references. Let's continue. The basic website consists of a few basic tags. One is, which we still use, is the doc type. As I said, there are different HTML formats. So you sometimes have to define these different HTML formats for older websites. Modern websites don't really use this, and actually browsers nowadays also autocomplete it. Even if you don't use this, they will put a standard there. That's a cool and a problem thing in modern browsers, because in older browsers like in Internet Explorer, when you forgot to make a closing tag, the whole website was broken. So and modern browsers try to fix this. So when they see an opening tag and not the closing tag, they try to put somewhere a closing tag, which is quite cool sometimes. But also sometimes for debugging, it can be also hard, because when they put it to the wrong part, the closing tag, then you have a misbehavior on the website. So be aware of modern browsers are autocorrecting your HTML code. Yeah, then you have really important for basic HTML structure, the HTML tag, which defines, okay, this document, the code here has HTML content. Then a website consists of a head, which is what you can see is the title of a website, like here, these intro HTML, CSS. If I would go to the source code, I hope I can see it now. Yeah, here you see it. It's a little bit small, but here you see this is the title you see also here in the top. So this is happening in the head of the website, but there are also happening other stuff, like you see all these meta tags, and meta tags are there for, they're very specific, use them for search engines to define, okay, these keywords are relevant to search engines, or you want to define something for social media or so, then you're using meta tags. And you also use them to reference your JavaScript and CSS files. Where I can show it the best. Okay, let's use a website I know. I'm working for a company called Strato. Don't know if you know them. If not, no problem. And yeah, luckily on our website it's better structured. So, so here you see again this HTML tag. And here you see all these meta attributes. If I do it bigger, so here you see a lot of meta attributes and link, not meta attributes, meta tags and link tags. Those, for example, here, like are for sometimes you see in mobile browsers that the location bar is changing to a different color. These are this text for here the meta tags and also these kind of meta tags. Here you see the color. So if you go to a mobile device, you see, for example, an orange color. But you have also these very basic, which are for the search engine, meta name description, which says to the search engine, to Google, hey, please, if you index my website, please use this content. And what is also what I tried to say and show you, you also reference your CSS files. Here for our website, you have a CSS file referenced with style sheet. And these OG definitions are for social media. When you go on Facebook and you share a website, then you get a preview image. And sometimes the social media tries to estimate what preview image they want to show. But as a website builder, you can also define it. So here, for example, we defined what preview image we want to show if the people share our website. And way more you can do in the head. So you see the head is a very powerful tag. And but the most important stuff happens in the body tag. So in the body tag, you have everything about the content, what you want to present. Oh, okay, my slides. So doc type, as I said, defines which HTML version, HTML, head, and body. This was our point. So, and inside the body is everything which is visible to the user. So what is containing in the head tag is not by default visible to the user, but everything in the body will be visible. And in HTML, we have a thing called nesting. I always put these images of these matroshkas. In German, they called matroshka. I think in English or Russian, it's a little bit similar, probably. So these little figures which put another figure and another figure. And this kind of thing, similar to HTML, where you have this nesting. So you put a paragraph inside a lead tag, which is a list element. And this list element you put inside a list containing element called URL is unordered list, which is looking like that. Let me show it too. So URL is unordered list. Let me delete those ones. So, and when you have a list item, like your first item, you put it in a lead tag. Oh, you see, I forgot a slash. So you have a first item, and when you just copy and you do also for better structuring, you maybe do some indentation. And when you do a second element, you just copy it and can have here your second element content and so on. So you can do a lot of list elements. And for example, if you want to have them numbered, so you don't want to have an unordered list, you use an ordered list, which is called OL. And then you have just a simple ordered list, which is done automatically. You can also, instead of the square brackets or these round brackets, what you have here, you can also create your own bracket type or your own image, what you want to put before. This we can do later with styling. So, but this kind of indentation or this kind of nesting, what you're doing, you nest the list element inside the list itself. This is set with nesting. And this is quite common when you have your code. Always look if when you have a starting tag, 98% of the cases, you somewhere have to have the closing tag. And if you have a good structure, you will make it clear and not somewhere in between, so you can find easily where's the closing tag. So like the paragraphs, just a short thing about the paragraphs or similar elements. Usually, it doesn't matter how you format them. If you can do it like this, or you can do them like this, it won't make a big difference. It will just always put the content, and then at the, like a paragraph, just put at the end a break and make a new content. And when you delete all the white spaces to structure your code, it will still display the same. There's sometimes, or some elements have, so this is a block, also called a block element. Some elements, like inline elements, will also have some different behavior if you do this, like this in sample 2, but this is very, very rare. So it's a edge case bug. But usually it doesn't matter how you format them, but I would suggest make a good structure that the code is readable so that you can, that you know where you have opening and closing stuff. So same as for heading, like the H1 is the most important header element, or the most important headline, not header element, headline. And then H2, H3, H4, which make your headline bigger and smaller. Basically bigger and smaller, but actually these H1 to H whatever 5, 6 are there for to structure your content. To say, okay, H1 is the most important headline. And then you have like the title of a website. And then you have maybe 2 main subsections of a website. These are the H2 elements. So and so on and so forth, so that later Google, your Google crawler knows how to structure and to understand your content. And in this case, you try to put your the order of H1 and so on. So this here is, for example, an H1, and then you have an H2, and here H3. Yeah. Also important for accessibility. So when people who can't have screen readers, which just tries to read the content, interpret it, and try to tell a person who can't see anything to say what is on the website. And then when you have a good markup structure, the screen reader is more able to say what how the content is structured. So very important for the internet are the links. So linking one website to another website is very, very important. And actually it was this invention of Tim Berners-Lee too, linking different documents. Links are called, I have an A tag called anchor, yeah. And they can link to an internal website or an external website. Here I put with the ref is the path to this website. If it's internal, it's probably another HTML document I load. So I put it here as a home HTML. Or it's a total different URL, a total different domain. Like here, for example, a link to Google. This is set with internal and external. Sometimes you don't want to open a link in the same tab. Then you can, this is the most common thing I always Google, what is the right, how to write this. If you don't want to open it in the same tab, you have this target blank, which opens this other website in a new tab. And you can also, for example, for emails, you can also say, define an email address, and then your mail program opens. So you just put ref mail to, double point, colon is in English, colon, and then the email address. And then when you click on it, your email software will open with this email address, and then you can start typing. probably when I try it out, I don't know if it's here on my working machine. Where's my stackblitz gone? My stackblitz is here, like here. Let's shortly try it, that you have seen it. So, email me. So here's the text. Inside this element, this container element is my text. Email me, for example. And then I say mail to. Hello at ng-girls.org. So I don't know what happens on my working machine, but let's see if there's happening something. Or I don't have an. No, I have nothing installed, it looks like. No, oh, sad. But usually if you have an Outlook, for example, installed, then this Outlook will open. So again, about relative and absolute parsers, you can always imagine as the folder structure you have on your machine. So if you have something like this, img the image folder, and then this file name, and you have this in the parse, you know, okay, it's something like in this folder, and then you have this file name. So usually these address has the same structure as your folder system. I don't know if I know, I don't show it. Okay, same structure as a folder system. Sometimes in the modern web, you have also, oh wait, I can show it. Because I can't show it on my working machine some folder structure. That's not not okay. But I can do it here. So if I have here this folder called projects, so I create a folder and I create another file called index.html. HTML. So, and here is a project. So, and now I have here this HTML file. Inside this folder, projects, and I want to link from my main index HTML file to this. I'm just use a relative link, which will look like this. Projects index.html. So go to my projects. So let's click on this, and if I not make a mistake, for sure I made a mistake. Projects. Okay. With this I can define in which folder I am. What? Why it's not working? Okay, usually it goes like that, but maybe somehow stackblitz is not working like I expect. Projects. That's interesting. This looked like a bug on stackblitz because usually now it should show you this project HTML file. That is interesting. I don't know why. Yeah, when you demo something, then this could happen. But usually the structure is really like that. So you really have this fast. This is this folder, and then you have this HTML file, index.html, and it should go to that. Just, I think it's understandable, isn't it? Is it understandable? Just make a, or, okay. Or if you have an absolute path, you can put in domain, like here Google. Let's try it if at least this will working. Interesting. What the heck? This is interesting. Google denied. What's something with the with our session? Because here you see it tries to go to these paths. Yes, this is working. Go to ngGirls, it's working. So this is the difference. So you have an absolute link, which has an absolute URL like ngGirls.org, or you have an internal link, which is a little bit like a folder structure. By the way, you get later also my slides, so you will see everything what I put here you get, for sure. And images also having a path, so you can define the path to this image, and it can be also an internal path or an external URL. So here, for example, to some company logo, like, let me shortly take my company logo. It's not a different one. Let's take this. So if I want to, in my little project, want to reference an image of my company, I just do it like this. I make an image tag here and put the absolute path to this logo. And what the heck is there going on? I think the website hung up. Yeah, so you see now I put an image tag, and then I put the path to the URL of this logo, and now I have included into my website. Quite simple. No big magic. And here you have this alt attribute. Alt is for describing what this image is about. This is quite useful also for accessibility reasons. So when you have people who can't read, the screen reader is saying what is inside this alt attribute. Yeah, also famous with these standalone elements is the break. Just to make a break inside your paragraph text, for example, looks like this. This list thing, what I already showed you. And lists can be used also for different stuff. Like, for example, you have a navigation, and navigation is usually a list of elements. Or you have these language select thing. This can be also a list of elements. So it's also an element used for styling purposes. What you also can use in your HTML code are comments. Comments are useful to when you have an HTML markup structure and you have a critical path where not everybody at the beginning understands what it means. Then you use a comment to describe what is happening here. But you can also use comments to uncomment some code. For example, if I want to hide my logo fast, I can delete it for sure, but I can also comment it out. And then I don't see the logo anymore. And if so you see these comment definition. And if I do it the other way, I see again my logo. Quite simple. I have a shortcut. I know the shortcuts. That's why it's going so fast. So don't worry about it. And also very important, if in the past for websites, they used to structure the website, they use tables everywhere. So normally tables are for data purposes. You have a head of your table, then you have the different cells, which you define here with this TD, and TR is a row. So like this one, this is a TR. This is a table row, TR, and TD table data. Actually, I don't know what TD is, but yeah, it's a table, it's a cell. And here you see you can use it also for styling in different ways. And sometimes you have some special characters like a dollar character, a delta, trademark or stuff like that. Then you have some special codes. They always have these ampersand character, and then a special code, and then a semicolon. And with this, you can define a lot of special characters. Here's a reference here, also a list of these codes. And as I already told you, there's a difference between inline and block elements. Block elements are famous for that after this element, there's a break. So there's a visual break, and the next element appears on the next line. Inline element just go until the right, until there's no space left on your browser, and then it breaks. So a div tag, for example, div tag has no visual, don't show anything. It's just for styling purposes. So you put some CSS on this div tag, but this div tag groups some stuff. Here, for example, 2 paragraphs. And after this paragraph, it's doing a break. The opposite of a div tag, yeah, here you can see how you also style it. We don't know for now. It's okay. Show you later how that works. The opposite is a span tag. A span tag is inline, so it goes until the right until there's no space left. For example, you used to highlight something inside a paragraph. Let me show it you in our stack blitz. So here you have again this hello content. And now I want to highlight my content because it's my content. I'm very proud of my content. Every developer. So I put a span inside. So the text is still in one line, and just at the end it breaks. The opposite would be if I do a P, then probably something will break or something else weird would happen. So you see now here I put a P tag and this breaks to a new line. Also, it's a block element. So what I want to use this kind of, and then I can do a styling. For example, I put the CSS class on this span with, for example, the name highlight. And when I use this class name, the CSS class name, and go to my CSS file, and I make a CSS definition, I can say, make this one red, And now you see it's red. Inside, everything else is green, but inside this span element is red. And you can do way more stuff. So for those kind of samples, you use an inline element. And in HTML5, what I told you, which was invented in 2014, usually in the past, or when I started with web programming, we always used div to group everything. But for screen reader, it's hard to know what this div means because they can't read class names or IDs or whatever, or interpret these. So HTML5 invented new HTML tags. For example, here like article, showing that everything inside this content is an article, or is a section, or is a footer element, or whatever. So the Google or the screen reader can better know the structure of your website. And for example, you have also modern tags like video, which integrates video to your website. And when you compare both, you see it's a more readable structure. Here you have a blog post, and here you have a blog post, but here you see some blog post is content, sorry, it's a content site, but here you see, okay, this is the main part, here's the site, so what's going on the site, here's the footer, and in the past there was always a div with an ID, for example. So it's not that self speaking. And this slide shortly for common errors, which can sometimes make you crazy, but it's happened to every developer, so to all of us. So as I said, not or wrong close text can occur an error because of code correction, but also it's quite common when you copy and paste solutions from the internet, like Stack Overflow or other websites common. Sometimes you can forgot to copy code, or the solution you copy from someone else is not totally fitting to your purposes, and then you have to find out what is inside wrong. Also common errors when you, it happens, for example, at my work, when some person from the marketing tries to do some HTML stuff or some content, not some HTML stuff, they try to put some text to inside the content management system and copy it from its Word document to this website, which looks for this person totally fine, but Microsoft Word put in behind some really weird HTML markup, and this can occur to a lot of issues. So when you have to copy some text from Word, for example, better put them to another editor like Sublime, VS Code or so that you don't have these secret markup. And also sometimes you have some inline styles which override other styles, which also can make you crazy, which will come to the CSS section, which is now. Is the base of an HTML understand with opening, closing tag and different versions? So, and as I said, you don't have to know every HTML tag. You can later find it out, try it out, and explore every HTML tag. So, and the second part of our little workshop, I already see I talked a lot. I don't try to be too slow, but when I'm talking, I start talking. That happens. So let's go shortly to cascading style sheet. This is sometimes the hardest part in web development, not JavaScript or stuff like that. CSS is, in my opinion, sometimes the hardest part. It looks like this. You have here type definition for the paragraph should look white. Like here, definition P. So for every paragraph HTML tag, I have the definition color white. When people talking about CSS, I have always in mind this picture. You do something, you try to fix it, and it goes like this. So when you have this feeling doing some CSS, don't worry, everybody have it. So it's quite normal. When I started learning CSS, my former boss gave me a link to a website where it's all these CSS definition, and I had to read all this English definition content, had to understand, which is totally impossible if you are a newcomer. So better you have some introduction workshops or similar to understand CSS. So, but in base, what CSS looks like is like you have this definition here is, for example, for a button tag has a color, and here you have these with these hashtag, you have a color code. This 63 is it's in hexadecimal, so from 0 to 9, and then A, B, C, D. And with these color codes, you can define different colors. Let me shortly show it you. So we have your content. You can also use some named colors like red, green also. But when you are more specific, for example, for a company, you want to use color codes. So like what we have seen with, I think it's gray. So if you do, for example, like this one, this is red. Again, if you put some in between, some other Fs, it's yellow. And there's a whole list you can find in the internet what color codes fits to your color. And then you also here in Visual Studio Code or in StackBlitz, you can also, when you hover over it, you get these color selector, and this color selector also gives you see the code is changing to whatever color I'm selecting. So you don't have to know every color code, don't worry. So such a definition consists of a selector, which is here in front of these how they call it, these bracket, these thing brackets, you see them. How are they called? Not square brackets, they are parentheses or something like that. It's in English. And so you have the selector, and then inside these brackets, you have this declaration, and this declaration consists of a property and a value. Again, you have a selector which selects the element, and then you have the definition of this declaration, which is style declaration, which has a property and a value. And CSS can look different. Depends on what you want to select, which element, it looks different. So here, for example, the first element is a selector of a CSS class. You see, so I put here in my slides at the bottom an HTML snippet, and here the CSS. And when I go forward, you see here I have on my button tag, I have a class foo, and here I have the corresponding definition for CSS. For CSS classes, it's always with a dot. You have the dot and the name. You can see it. And inside you have the definition, for example, here color red. If I have two classes, you can separate the classes inside the HTML with a space. And inside the CSS, you have .foo, this other class name, for example. So you can more specify an element. I will come shortly in a demo about it. You can also define a style with an ID. Be careful, because actually in definition an ID is unique, so you don't use IDs in HTML multiple times, you use them once. So if you do this definition, you should do this just for elements who are existing ones. And in ID, you have here this ID attribute, and in CSS, it has this hashtag. Or you want to style just an HTML tag, you don't have either a dot or a hashtag, you just have the name of the HTML tag, which corresponds to this. But you can also mix it. So, or you can cascade it. Why it's not showing the mixing? Here, it's not highlighted, but it's button.active. It's a mixture of HTML selection and CSS class selection. But you can also, because CSS is named cascading style sheet, cascading is a technique to more specify which element you want to select. So for example, this CSS definition says, give me every link inside this foo button, or give me every class link, which also have a class foo on the same element, which is inside a surrounding element called posts. In this case, it's a div. So we specify more what is the selected element. This we're doing with cascading. The same with nesting in HTML. So it's similar. It's a little bit similar. And there's also an order of which style is more important or less important. So you can override styles. So the most important is like you have an important definition, then you have inline CSS, ID, class, and element. I will show you now in a demo, just to play around a little bit. So again, we have our demo. Maybe I split here that you can more easily see it. So here I have my HTML and here I have the CSS styling. So, and let me do it like this. So we have more. So for now, for example, we have for every paragraph tag has the color green. If we want, so it's for every paragraph you put on the website. So if I put another paragraph, it will also appear green. Like here, foo will appear green. Or maybe I make a color red and it's more visible. So except my span here in between. So you have two P tags and they have both the color red. But now I want to make one paragraph I want to make in a different color. So I want to override the standard definition. So I can use different techniques. One technique, for example, is to use a class. Like here, I already defined a class name highlight and can put on my paragraph tag a class attribute with the value highlight. And now just the first paragraph is styled red and the second one has the color green. If I put more paragraphs tag, they are still red until I put another element which has these class green. So so this kind of way you can override stuff. But you can also specify them more. So for example, you see this a lot of elements and you want to say the first two I want to make blue for whatever reason. It's just a sample. So I can group them inside a div, for example. And now I can say, give this div also class, for example, my group. And in my CSS definition, I can say, select everything in my group which has the class highlight, and make this color blue. You see, the first two paragraphs are highlighted blue. Even they have the highlight CSS class, which should say green. But as this is more and important or more as this definition is more specified, it overrides. Yes?
The ending of blue is not correct.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, probably now it was still okay, but sometimes at this point, if we miss stuff, all the CSS afterwards will not working. So this could happen sometimes. When I put inside my group here, maybe I do an indentation, so it's wait. Do the indentation that it's easier to separate. And when I put another p tag, like this, you see it has no class highlight, so it's still red. Because in this specification, I just say everything inside my group which has the class highlight. And so on and so forth. So there's an order of how you can override stuff. And when I now say, okay, I want to do it more specific, like to this one element has to be orange. I put a style attribute. Here I say, this is called also inline style, which you should not so much use. And when I do here color code, I can make it orange. And maybe also I want to make it bold. I can do another CSS definition with a semicolon and say font weight bold. So you see it's a little bit fatty here. So style overrides normal classes and things. You can also do the same with IDs. So IDs is also a high order. So if I have an ID screen here, then I will put in my CSS code hashtag screen and can say color is purple. Here, what we have here in selection, paleo violet red. I don't know what, or peach puff sounds fun. So now you see we have this ID element, make this color, which I never heard of. So there are some predefined colors, as I said, but usually I would more use these color codes. And if you still need to override these stuff, you have this important tag. Then you could say, for example, here, I say for every p element, I don't want to have the color red, I want to have color blue. Usually the last definition is winning. So if I have both here, let me shortly uncomment everything that you see it. If I two times the same definition, the last definition is winning. You see here the color red is winning. But if I want to say for whatever reason, I want to make it blue, then I can also say also called, not Anführungszeichen, this is German. You see this character, important, and I make important, and now everything is blue. So this is the hardest way to override everything. And this is why CSS is sometimes a little bit hard, because you have different CSS definitions and they have a different order, and you have to check out which has the highest order, like here shown. So the highest order is important. With this important definition, then inline CSS, then ID, then class, and the least important is an element. With this, you already understood CSS. Any question? Or is it the base thing is understood? There are also some hacks. Sometimes you can do like put 2 times the same class. It can also override things. So there are a little bit small hacky things, but I don't want to teach them too much. And when we have a house and we want to make some functionality, we use JavaScript or TypeScript. We will come also in the introduction on Friday to this. Actually, TypeScript is JavaScript with types, and it will look like this. So you have a class, which is a set of functions and properties, properties belonging to one component, for example. So for example, we have here a button component, and it should have a property label with the text click me, and it should have a function inside which is called click me, and when I click on it, the text should change. So this is how TypeScript on Friday will look like. And in JavaScript Basic, there are different ways of defining code. How late is? Okay, 90 minutes already. So let me shortly show some JavaScript, TypeScript stuff, just that you have seen it. So let me think about put everything away. Can have a content, and in this basic StackBlitz sample, we have a TypeScript file, and there you can see some JavaScript in action already. What I here commented out with this one. So it tries to get an HTML element like these H1. If I put my hello content in an H1, it tries to grab this element or to find this element, document get element by D. Oh, wait. No, sorry. Here was it app. Okay, let's do the simple thing. Just reload it. Basic. Let's go to here to a static starter. Look, I should have used this, not the other one, and then this, you see the structure of an HTML page better. And here you can also see the thing with the pages. Yay! This I was searching for. Okay, it was because of a special type of application. So, and when you look at this sample, you also see different things. Like here, for example, what you will do a lot is like a console log. A console log is when you go into your developer tools and you want to print out something. Like here, you print out hello or whatever you put inside this function. And this is just executed as soon as you include the script into your site, which happens here. As long as I reference the script like this, then this console log is executed. If I don't reference it, you will see there's no log. And you can also do some different stuff. Sometimes you want to do an alert, which this is just the most basic stuff. Alert is such like a pop-up you see here, which is totally annoying. Again, but usually you want to program stuff, so you use a lot of things like, so for example, I want to have different console logs. So I have it's a problem when you have a mic and a keyboard on the same part. So you have a standard console log, my standard text, and now you want to make a decision between two options. So for example, I have a value of a variable called foo, and if foo has the value 3, then you show the standard definition. You have these if, and if foo is equal to 3, then show this definition. As you see, no console log is now clear printed out. And to every if, there's also an else. And here I can say other text. And as foo does not exist, what? Why is it not working? Interesting. The else part should work, but it's not my day. Or maybe I wrote a mistake somewhere. Okay, now it's working. Okay, there's somewhere a mistake which happens that it crashes here. Probably because I don't define the variable. Let's make it like this. Ah, look, stackplets don't like it when you don't define the variable. So I defined the variable foo is the value 2. So it goes to the else pass, my other test. If I make it 3, then it's equal to what is written in the if, and then the other text is shown. My standard text is shown. For variables, you have different definitions, like the most classic one is var, but you have also modern JavaScript, you have let and const, and there's a different. When you have const, you're not allowed to override this value. So, for example, if I do here define it as 3 and I want to later define this variable with 2, I should get an error which is not shown. Why it's not shown here? That's not cool. That's totally interesting. I really need to talk to the people of Stackbats. Yeah, but actually you should not be allowed to override it. And with logic, maybe use. Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe something is written. Cannot read property null of a pending child. Yeah. Okay, I crashed something in the Stackbits application. I have no idea why. Happens. This could happen. maybe you can do it different way also sometimes to try out things. You can go to any website and go to the DevTools. And when you go to the console tab, you can also try out things like here var x is 3. And then when I console log the variable x, I print it out. This undefined is always shown. This is normal. And when I do the same with const, like epsilon 4, and now I want to override it. Let's hope it works. Yes. Okay, the DevTools say showing this what I want to show. I tried to override this const variable, and it says it's not allowed. If I do the same variable definition with let, here 56 the value, and I want to override it with 33, I get no error and I get this other thing. So it's possible. So let is override, writable, const not. And besides if and else, there are also other basic structures you have for coding. You already saw this class thing, but you have also things like switch, where you can make a decision between different options, which is looking like this. For example, if it's value 3, then show this option and don't continue with. And if it has 4, show 44 option, and also maybe show a default option, which is named here with default, and then console. Console log full. And now, what do you think is printed out in my console? Any idea? I still awake? It's this option, because the case of foo is 4, so it's equals 4. 3, sorry, 3, and so this option is printed out. If I would change the value, it's the false option, and if I do a total different value, then it's the default pass gone. It's going through the default pass. Actually, when you do some indentation, you do it like this. So switch and ifs are very common things you will use for coding. And there are a lot more. Probably your mentor will show you too on Friday. So with this, we also have shortly handled a little bit JavaScript. JavaScript, even if JavaScript was created in, I think, 5 or 7 days or so, it's really huge. And every day I'm still learning a new thing about JavaScript, because sometimes JavaScript is really crazy. But we will handle on Friday just some basic stuff and go more into the framework Angular, which should wrap up this whole JavaScript world to a more structured way, where we can have this class thing and other stuff. And with this, this will be see on Friday how a component looks like. But with this slide, I will finish it for today. So it was already a lot of content. You can find my presentation here. I will also send an email, then you can get these slides. You can also go through them again and maybe try out some stuff in your editor or your online editor, and just learn by simply try and fail. As you also see, as has seen on my live coding, I also fail often. This is totally common. And with this failing, you're learning a lot of stuff. Even if I have not understand why Stackblitz is not always working, but that's life. Yeah. Any questions or anything you want to, you ever ask yourself you want to implement? I don't understand you, Natalie. You have to put your mic on. The microphone.
I'm sorry, I just had a call and I don't know what you asked.
Okay. So with this slide, I come to the end of the presentation today. Anybody has a question or something you ever wanted to know how to implement that?
I think I will want to go through the slides and experiment a bit. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
That would be the best way. And if you have any questions or you want to try out stuff, for those who will attending on Friday, in basis, we were following a tutorial on Friday with about Angular with the help of the mentors. But the mentors can also show you some more stuff about HTML and CSS when you want to try out things. So feel free to use the time this way you want to use it. You don't have to always follow the tutorial. You can also try out hacky things in just basic HTML and CSS, as I shown also. It's totally valid. So because you should learn on Friday. And yes, any more questions from others, or are you totally, or maybe for some, those are from India, it's already very early in the morning. Am I right?
Yes, Robert.
So probably it's time to, you are as sleepy as me now. So it's time for finishing. Thank you for attending. I also tried to find out how I can send these recording. And I hope some of you I will see on Friday. It's the, as I said, the first workshop after 2 years in present, so totally special also for me. And for those who can't attend on Friday, we will figure out if we have an online, can do an online event in January. I don't have the date yet. Or maybe you wait and somewhere we also do a workshop in your country. So I know we did already workshops in India. That happened. Actually, it was an online workshop, but anyway, it was an India workshop in the time zone of India, or in one of the time zones of India. Yeah. And let's see, maybe also for the other countries, let's see if someone we can also go there. Yeah, thank you. And
Goodbye.
have a good night.
See on
Thank you very
Friday.
much.
Thank
Have a
you
good
for your
evening,
time.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for attending. Bye.
Bye.